The rule as old as time when it comes to anime, at least for me, is when you're watching an episode and it just feels obnoxiously short. Like, it just feels incredibly short. And this episode of Spy Family definitely hit that category. So we're now on the 9th episode of Spy Family, and this episode essentially picked up last week. This episode essentially picked up from where we left off last week, which was Yuri visiting Yor and visiting Lloyd, as well as Anya, but she was a big old sleepy girl. And it picks up exactly where we got left off on last week. We complete the Yuri arc, essentially, and then we kind of move into Lloyd testing Yor specifically because of some of the nervousness, because of some of the connections that she ignorantly has to the secret police through Yuri without even knowing it. So he tests her this episode. And really, this episode is about Yor and about Lloyd really becoming closer. And I really felt like this episode went as quick as a blink of the eye. And before I knew it, Anya was getting home from school and the episode was ending. So I really think that this episode was absolutely fantastic. And I really love that we are seeing the relationship between all three of them, right? But specifically this episode, between Yor and between Lloyd. I like how we're seeing it blossom, and I think it's a very beautiful thing. So to start off, the initial part of the episode was absolutely hilarious. I love how Yuri has a total sister complex. I love how he had a PTSD flashback to where he got home from school one day. He did really good on a book report or, math or some kind of homework from school. And Yor rewarded Yuri with a little kiss on the cheek, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna marry you someday." Like, that's your big sister. A little weird, but okay, you're a kid, you're cute. But my man's been holding on to those feelings for seemingly 10, 15 years. I think he's 21, so let's just call it like 10. Let's just call it like 10-ish years. This dude's been holding on to those feelings. So when he finally sees Yor puckering up to kiss another man, this dude freaking loses it. He loses it. And the funniest part about it, and I hella laughed, is Yor had to swig down some wine just to gain the internal confidence to actually kiss Lloyd. B, when she did it, she was about to get all sloppy woppy on him. And 3, right before she was like centimeters away from the lips, she freaked out as she went to go slap Lloyd. Thankfully, my man's missed it, and Yuri ended up catching the slap instead. And I mean, this was like knock out a gorilla slap. Like, it was intense. And Yuri was freaking out about that situation. And then obviously, because of the misconstruing of everything, because obviously Yor was drunk as well, she ends up slapping him again. She beats the shit out of this poor dude. But it did solidify a couple of things. It solidified in his mind that Lloyd's a pretty good dude, and he hates that. So there must be something wrong. Which innately, if you remove the spy part, Lloyd's a pretty cool dude. You know what I mean? So he's definitely pissed about that, and then he's mad about Yor's feelings towards him. And then, alternatively, Yuri's feelings towards his sister, which is, it's love, but it extends beyond the sisterly, brotherly love, unfortunately. So I just thought that whole entire concept was hilarious. Then we move on to the next arc, or the next piece of the episode, which is, Lloyd being suspicious, which he should be. He's a spy, this is his line of work. He's, needs to be suspicious about everything. So he begins thinking like, hey, what if, and he met Yor seemingly by coincidence, and he asked her, everything that happened was just completely coincidence. But, in his mind, everything there's no coincidences. So, he begins to think, Yor has connections to Yuri, which has connections to the secret police, which has connections to people who are looking for Starlight, for him specifically. So he's like, well, maybe Yor was placed here, to really come after me. So he begins testing her, in a way, as you should. He does this, but pisses off Anya, because Anya's like, you guys aren't getting along. Fix this shit. And he begins to test her, and she begins to ask advice from her coworkers about happy marriage. He decides to take it a little bit farther and begins to interrogate her. She seemingly passes the test, besides the fact that she was about to go assassin on these two dudes. She was about to kill the crap out of them. But he tests her. She passed with flying colors. And even Afro Boy kind of like says, hey, like, don't catch feelings, essentially. And when he meets up with her again, he kind of reassures her that she doesn't need to be perfect. She just needs to be her, and her being her is perfect for him. And some of that is just lip service, but part of that, I think, there's his true feelings are rooted in that lip service, essentially. Because I genuinely think somewhere deep down he does like her for her. But in that moment, he blushes and everything too. So therefore, he's kind of realizing his own feelings for YOR, even if he's not consciously, verbally saying or doing anything. Subconsciously and inwards, those feelings are definitely there, growing and sprouting. It's even conferred later on than for us, for us, the viewers. When Anya gets home, it shows that she reads their minds, and it doesn't tell us what they're saying internally like usual, but whatever they're saying got Anya to be like, okay, you guys are getting along now. So they must be having some kind of thoughts internally. And obviously, Lloyd's thoughts aren't observed or heard by his employer, so he can think anything he wants. He can even think that, man, YOR's a nice piece of wife, and they wouldn't know anything about it. So I love that. And then the episode ended, essentially, and I just love that, we're at that point, and we're getting to this, we're getting to this point, essentially, and I like that their relationship is growing. And one of the things I've said consistently now is, hey, on a subconscious level, they are becoming more of a family. And I absolutely love that. I love that they're getting closer, and I love that it's going to get to a point to where Lloyd is going to have to choose, his fake family, his fake family now turned real family, versus his mission. I do think that there's going to be some stakes that happen somewhere down the line, somewhere in the story that ends up having to lean that way. But regardless, I'm leaving you guys on those thoughts there. This episode, 2 thumbs up. As always, Spy Family, some of the best anime out there. Next episode, we're getting the dodgeball episode, which we're going back to school. Anya, trying to get in the good graces of the student. I forget what his name is, but she's trying to get in the good graces there. So next episode's the dodgeball episode, so that should be really fun. We're gonna swap back to Anya next episode, and that should be really cool. So let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode of Spy Family. As always, I appreciate you guys being here for another week. This episode, 2 thumbs up as always, and don't forget to hit subscribe before you guys leave, and make sure you guys like, and of course, for more videos, check them out over here. All right, see you guys next Saturday. Peace.